All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Tipple's Wine of the Week. Thank you for joining us. This is Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wines, Gainesville, Florida. And this week, we're going to be enjoying the Iguigal Crozes Hermitage Syrah is the grape from Northern Rhone in France. So we've explored Southern Rhone a little bit. There's always more to explore down there, but this week, for the first time, we're heading to the Northern Rhone region. All right, so if you've not already done so, go ahead and pop that wine open, pour yourself a glass. I threw mine into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to get a light chill on it, to get it down to around 60 degrees.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's pull up the first slide. We'll talk about food pairings before we delve into what we're tasting and smelling. Swirl. All right, so here we are with the Iguigal. Ratings are no slouch on this guy. Robert Parker, 92. Jeff Dunnick, 92. Wine Enthusiast, 91. These are regular. I mean, you look year after year after year, it hits it again and again. All right. Great food pairings. Boston butt pork roast. Happen to have some ready for us. Veal medallions in a mushroom wine sauce. Pistachio encrusted lamb. A steak with peppercorn sauce. So I just didn't want to go in and say, red meat, so I'd like to get a little fancier with it. But sure. I bet you guys had some great pairings out there as it is pairing friendly. So let's see here. All right.
Next.
Let's jump back to us and we'll stop sharing and we'll talk about the what we're smelling and tasting. Any food pairings out there before I get going?
We're doing carbonara.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of straightforward, meaty kind of sauce.
Sure.
But,
nice.
I think it goes really well with it. I had one sip and was like, had a bite, had another sip, on board.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. I tell you, the French are all about food with their wine. So the French, the Italians, for sure. It tends to be more of an old world attitude, right? Food pairings over just drinking it alone. All right, so this is 100% Syrah, alcohol content 14.5%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Right there in the zone for red wine.
Oh, and then the hogsets are having meatloaf and spare ribs.
Oh, perfect. That'll work great. All right, let's get a little of the scent.
And then Syra's shish kebabs, noodles with herbed veggies.
Nice. Yeah. I like it a lot. So I'll tell you, I'm smelling kind of a nice black licorice and black cherry on the nose already. Really nice grippiness on there. So right out of the chute, even as it's just starting to take a breath for us. Nice grippy tannins on this guy. So age worthiness, right? We always go into that before we kind of delve too much into what we're smelling and tasting, but I wanted to taste it to get my own assessment freshly on the tannin quality, right? So good tannins.
I get a pepperiness.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt that. Good tannins, 14.5%.
14.5% on the fruit. Would you say dried fruit?
I don't like it when you
fresh
put me
fruit
on the spot. I don't know.
It's fresh fruit.
What would you say?
Okay,
Thank you.
So fresh but ripe. All right.
Okay.
So fresh but ripe. So that means there's an acidity left over. So you've got acidity, you've got alcohol, you got tannins. This guy can age. So
what years are the one that we
this
have?
is 18.
Okay.
So
43. So age 15?
10 easy.
10 easy.
Yeah,
okay.
10 easy. So and beyond perhaps, but certainly, like an easy 10. Really meant probably for more of 5 to 7. Not that there's anything wrong with jumping in right now. It clearly tastes good already. So it's not too wound up. I didn't decant it or anything, and it's already enjoyable. Yes, we have a nice tannin tightness, but it's not so wound up and acidic that I feel like I'm not getting a full flavor with each sip.
No, I definitely feel like I'm getting a full flavor with each
Mm.
sip.
We could, which it's kind of a hard thing to do where you were to, if we were to open a wine that's not ready to drink on purpose, say a young Barolo, in order to have everyone experiment or experience it, maybe
Mhm.
something that we'll all get together and do in the store.
Sure, yeah. So that we just like each have a little bit
You
of
have a
it.
little bit of it, and you can
Okay.
see when I talk about wound up, it's like, when you taste it, you're like, that's what it tastes like. It's a spring, like overly,
Okay.
because you can tell you're getting a lot of tartness
Mhm.
and a lot of tannin, but not of additional flavors. But here I'm
Okay.
talking about a lot of flavors already. So this guy's it's sharing easily, thank goodness. Mm. Really nice black and blue fruit on this guy. So I would go, black cherry, some blueberry, nice spiciness. I'm getting a hint of herbs, which I think will become more prominent as we sip throughout the evening.
Mhm.
Kind of a nice, like green herbaceous note, maybe like a little tarragon oregano kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So the Steyers say, I like the finish on this one stronger than the other Syrahs I've had.
A good call.
Mhm.
And there's a reason for that.
Okay.
All right, which we will go into. It's distinctive. Crozes Hermitage, Northern Rhone is known for Syrah. That's their grape.
Okay.
All right. But there's a reason for that too, right? So okay. So things that you can taste often from a Northern Rhone, not always, and it doesn't make it good or bad. It's just different qualities. With Northern Rhone Syrah, sometimes you get a peppered pork quality, like almost
Okay.
a peppered bacon quality, which can come out. Smokiness is not unusual. Black olive is not unusual, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be there. Like this guy, I would go a little more tobacco, at least what it's showing us right now. Tobacco, pepper with the fruit.
Mhm.
I say that, and as I'm moving into this glass, smoke immediately. Some of that bacony smoke is starting to come out now that it's open. Ours has not been open that long. This is going to change quite a bit as we're sipping on it. 30 minutes, but I didn't decant it, so it didn't have a lot of opportunity to get a lot of different oxygen exposure. And so really spinning it in my glass, as I sit here doing almost constantly when I want something to open up, matters a little more. Yeah, it's drying out. It's really beginning to balance already, where the fruit is not dominating as much anymore. And I love how this is really a great example when you have it fresh of something changing, because
Mhm.
this was very fruit forward when we opened it up.
It's
which
it's
is
evolved
not-
a lot already.
Right. And then that Northern Rhone Syrah is really not known for being a fruity version.
Okay.
Washington State tends to be a little more fruity, which we had one,
Mhm.
gosh, almost a year ago now. But this, you should get a lot more herbs and spices and porkiness and all these kind of wonderful qualities that make it so food friendly.
So I'm not getting the smokiness, but I'm sure you are getting what I am not.
So good.
So in the chat, so Brian said pepper and blueberries for sure, and leathery too.
I like the leather call.
Mhm.
Absolutely. No doubt. Absolutely. And here's what we're talking about too. One of the fun things about old world wines, we're talking about a slew of different things that we're experiencing. It's a very complex wine. Like if nothing else that we can, agree on as we move into this wine, complexity.
Oh yeah.
And complexity is the Syrah from Northern Rhone is known for complexity. There's going to be a lot to work our way through, and it will evolve.
So that leads us into a question then from the chat box. How would you know that this is a Syrah?
Okay, so let's talk about the Syrah, qualities of Syrah to answer that.
Okay.
Like I've got many slides. I have many slides. Let's cover that in the slides.
Okay, so we'll hold off on that question in a moment. One
Right.
more comment from the chat box. I would agree with Brian. This is either from Robin or Chris. A little smokiness, maybe raspberry, definitely herbs.
Yep. Liking it.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually they even mention a bit of a strawberry note, which is not always in Syrah. There are many Syrahs that wouldn't, and I like that they mention it because I've been talking about the dark, but there is a bright redness to it as well. And I can kind of get caught up in some of my early thoughts and, oh yeah, this is why I write things down. And honestly, some say the power of suggestion. I don't think so much. I think it's just, there's a lot to unpack here.
Sure.
And so
I feel like it's gotten more peppery as I've been drinking it because I feel it like going on top of the soft palate a little bit.
it makes sense
with
to me.
that. Okay, you'd like me to share?
Mhm.
All right.
Oh, that's nice. Really, the peppery is coming out nicely. All right.
That's what I just said.
I know. In all of your correctness. All right. So the Syrah grape. All right. Here we have color and the grape cluster and the style. Origin of this grape is southeastern France. We are in southeastern France. All right. So now it's a little further south of the northern Rhone. It actually probably originated in the southern Rhone,
Okay.
which we'll look at the map in a little bit and you guys can see
So-
how close they are. But we're talking about 30 to 50 miles.
Okay.
It's close.
So,
Right.
yeah, basically.
But the southern Rhone, as they worked originally with
Mhm.
Syrah, they use blends all the time,
Mhm.
but not all the time, but almost all the time, right? The northern Rhone, they're the guys that said, oh, no, Syrah,
Okay.
they're Syrah specialists.
Okay.
So great color, flavors, and aromas. Is a very expressive grape. And it's a flexible grape that can ripen in warm or cool climates. So we are dealing with a cooler growth Syrah tonight.
Mhm.
When you go down to Australia and having a Shiraz, which is Syrah, actually it's underneath there. Other names for Syrah are Shiraz and Hermitage. We're drinking a Crozes Hermitage.
Huh.
Now, the adjacent appellation that is the most famous within Northern Rhone is Hermitage. And this is kind of surrounding it, which once again, we'll see the map later. So it's so famous for this grape that some people just call the grape after the region.
Mhm.
So flexible. So like I said, it ripens differently though, whether you're in warm or cool environments, you get different qualities. We'll go over those specifically on a different slide.
Okay.
Can we move to the next? There we go.
Yes.
So typical profiles: blueberries, black plum, milk chocolate, tobacco, green peppercorn, which to me, when I see green peppercorn, because it's going to express differently when you've got tobacco to green peppercorn, when we're talking about the herbs, just consider that to be something that can cross over multiple different, flavor profiles. Because we're talking about, I think, a little bit more of a black pepper
Mhm.
tonight, with herbs, but
Mhm.
rather than a green peppercorn, but it can certainly have that.
Now, for this one, would you agree that it's medium high tannins? Because I felt like it was pretty darn tannic. So, I mean, I would have said high, but,
Yes,
okay,
I would say medium high.
medium high.
Yeah.
So what would be a high one then?
Oh, super aggressive. I mean, that's going to be from a southern hemisphere growth,
Mhm.
most likely. The warmer the growth, the bigger the tannins. So what we're getting here, there are many Crozes Hermitage that don't have this much tannin.
Okay.
All right, because the cooler the growth, the less the tannins.
Oh, okay.
Which we're actually going to cover in that a little bit. So the reason for that being warmer growth, there's more heat intensity. And so to protect the fruit from the heat and the intensity of the sun, they thicken the skins. Thicker the skin, more tannin.
Okay.
So you get up there and I've had Syrah, especially Northern Rhone Syrah. Some of them are very delicate and cool growth. And they almost look like a Pinot Noir.
Oh, wow.
So you can see right through them. They have a beautiful color intensity, but not the density where
Okay.
you wouldn't be able to see through it like this. So it's a very fun grape because it can be a lot of different things.
Okay, so I want to remember that we want to know, like, if you were blind tasting it,
Mhm.
how you would know it was a Syrah.
Right. One of the big things would be that it could play around. Actually, if we jump back to 2 weeks ago
Mm-hmm,
with the cool growth Cahors Malbec,
mm-hmm.
because that would be the thing. So here I am, I'm tasting this, right? I'm getting chocolate, I'm getting red plum, I'm getting blueberry, but Malbec, you get blueberry and chocolate as well as they tend to have kind of a little floral component. So in that way, the big giveaway for me is smokiness.
Mm-hmm.
Malbec doesn't have that.
Okay.
Cab doesn't have that. the smokiness and pepperiness are the things that are distinguishing
In
for
Syrah,
Syrah.
regardless of whether it's cool growth or
Right,
warm growth.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Not always the smokiness, but if it has the smokiness,
Then you're like,
bam,
okay, that's
Syrah
Syrah.
on there.
Okay.
So if you get a really warm growth Syrah,
Mhm.
it can maybe fool you a little bit, but the pepperiness should always bring you back. Pepperiness is kind of a universal, I think, in almost every Syrah I've ever had.
Okay. Like a tell.
Yeah, that's a great tell. And especially that porkiness, like when of those, which many do, they have that smoky bacony quality. I had the coolest South African Syrah today.
I feel like
It was wonderful.
this is totally wrong, I'm sure.
No,
I feel like I'm smelling like a cinnamon now on the nose.
I don't think that would be off the table.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because with me, I'm feeling like it's a little bit more of a black licorice playing around with tobacco.
Okay.
But there's certainly high pointy, like kind of spiciness that is a little bit on the sweet side.
Okay.
So I can go there. It's not wrong.
It's wrong. Oh, okay. So Chris or Robin, I did early on, maybe not fully cinnamon, but kind of baking
Yeah.
spices. Okay, no, I don't taste it. It was
Right.
totally the nose that yeah.
And now remember the baking spices.
Baking spices, yeah.
No, don't forget we actually have that new cinnamon broom that we probably.
Oh, you think I'm smelling
You
cinnamon
might be
broom?
smelling the cinnamon broom from the. I'm sorry, but that might be.
That could be it. It's like
No, I just
pooling,
noticed
the
it.
scent is pooling in the
Right. Like I just noticed as I took a breath here, I was like, cinnamon broom. Oh no, cinnamon
yeah,
broom.
there's a cinnamon broom like
Yeah.
right outside this
I'm
room.
gonna have to
so-
put my nose well into the glass.
Okay.
But
See, it was cinnamon, Jeff, just not from this.
fair enough. Okay. So like I say, medium high tannins, medium acidity, right on there. And the alcohol's right there in the zone. So all of this is kind of lining up on the different points. Let's go to the next slide is about cool growth and warm growth and the difference, right? So we have, this is from the cool growth area. Like it says, Northern Rhone, cooler growth climate, Northern Rhone, Washington State, Sonoma, Chile especially. Oh, they make some great Syrah.
And they call it Syrah?
They do.
Okay.
Then you have warmer Australia, Paso Robles, Sierra foothills, Napa, Argentina, Spain. I see that neither one of these is listing South Africa. And South Africa is growing some great Syrah. Here's the fun thing about South African Syrah. Half the wineries call it Syrah, half the wineries call it Shiraz. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. They're growing great stuff down there.
Okay.
And the South African wines tend to drink more French,
Oh.
a little
so
more old world.
world.
So it's a new world location
Mhm.
that drinks like an old world location, just to make people like me that are going to be going for our next level sommelier lose our minds. But anyway,
Is that something they would do in the next level? Like, do you think they'd?
no, my next level should be typical.
Okay.
It should be things that are typical to style
Okay.
rather than trying to fool you.
Okay.
Beyond that,
Yes.
yes.
All right.
So we're talking about the Northern Rhone. So savory, olive, like I said, not getting olive in this one, but certainly pepper, herbs, smoky, tobacco, and bacon fat. And they can get much more intense. This one is kind of a very friendly Crozes Hermitage. And it's a bit of a bridge to me. If you look at the color of what we're looking at, it looks more like the one on the right.
Mhm.
And some of the notes in there with the licorice, which is on the right, right?
Mhm.
This is a bit of a crossover, but a super friendly, easy to like, delicious, great qualities of the Syrah coming out in here. This is going to be from several different areas within the Crozes Hermitage appellation, which is going to grab some warm, some cool, in order to give you a little bit of everything that it can offer, which is another reason I think it was fun. Last time we visited with an Iguigal wine, it was from the Southern Rhone,
Mhm.
and it was for the exact same reason. It gave you this great picture of what the Southern Rhone can give you. And then you can work into specifics of what you prefer a little bit more from there. If you're saying, look, I want something that's going to smell like somebody put a piece of bacon in my glass, that's there. It's available. We can find that.
Yeah, Reese might actually like wine if it
Yeah,
smelled
right.
and tasted like a piece of bacon in your
Right.
glass. There you go.
It's available.
You have to bring one of those for him to try.
Okay. Will do. So, all right. So I hope that I've also covered how do you know if it's Syrah, right? Because and I get it. Syrah can play around when you get those tannins and you get like big kind of plum playing with raspberry and black cherry. All right, that's could be a cab, right? And
Right.
then, but cabs don't tend to be peppery.
Okay. Peppery and smoky.
Peppery and smoky
Sometimes.
is the big giveaway on these guys.
Do you want me to go next?
Yes, please. I just had to have a little sip. I talked about why the skins would be different. So warmer climate, that skin is going to be thicker, bigger tannin, fruitier.
Mhm.
Cooler climate, you're going to get the secondary flavors. All right. So less tannin, more of that, that porky, peppery, and I've definitely had this before where they have a bit of like a black olive quality to them, which can be fantastic. Certainly the cooler growth you get, the more of a food wine it's going to be. Right. So the warmer growth, like if you go to a Shiraz,
Mhm.
Shiraz can be 16.5%,
Oh,
big and fruity.
well, you should probably eat something if you're drinking.
Well,
16.5%.
optimally, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, we had that with the, remember the Tate the Ballbuster?
About, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was delicious.
Mhm.
Big tannins. Yeah. So,
It was fantastic.
yes.
A couple of notes in the chat.
Mhm.
So Chris and Robin, the how do you know if it's Syrah was answered when I saw that Hermitage is the same thing. Otherwise, I was just guess on the region. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Mhm. Yeah. And then the Snyder's, it's strong enough to cut through peppers or something with the marinade, but it still has the fruit to invite white wine drinkers to try.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I like that observation too. This one, there are Crozes Hermitage and Hermitage Syrahs that would be very polarizing. That's the word I'm looking for. There are some where I would, maybe, and especially Jake at the store,
Mhm.
we would just be loving on that wine, and other
Mhm.
people would say, "What on earth are you talking about? Is there any fruit in this?" And there are some that I've had that you have to search. It's like a smoked pork, pepper, and leather beverage, and it's wonderful, but really want that with some food,
Okay.
so. Unless you're just going to geek out about it like me, so fair enough. All right, so let's head to the next slide. So our wine term, negociant. We've talked about this a little bit, but I thought so. A negociant, origin in France, it basically means trader, a wine trade person in France. Also known as a wine merchant. They buy grapes, grape juice, or fermented wine all together. So it covers a spectrum of behaviors, right? So a negociant, most of them that I deal with, have long-term contracts with specific wine growers or grape growers, and they actually collaborate with them on how it's going to be grown and how it is. So they don't own the land because it's not for sale.
Mhm.
But they work with them on exactly how those grapes are going to be produced
Okay.
for their wine. So yes, they don't own the land, but they're very involved from the start in how that goes.
Okay, so they're not just buying grapes that have been grown however the person that owns the land wants them to grow. They're saying, hey, if we're going to buy these grapes from you, you need to do it this way.
Most like
Okay.
so, and that's the sad thing about the word negociant, right?
Mhm.
There are those that it's basically the same as they did it themselves,
Right.
But it also can be, not that I'm saying this makes a bad wine, but there are
Mhm.
people that come over and they find grapes and they just buy what's there. All right, I'm getting some French grapes and I'm going to make a wine and I'm going to slap my name on it.
But I'm assuming if they're doing that, they're checking the quality of the grape and making sure, okay, this is something that it depends on who
Depends
it
on the
is.
price point and
Okay.
who it is.
All right.
There are literally people on the whole spectrum,
Mhm.
because there is one of the most interesting wines I've ever had out of France, where that guy went in there and he is a negociant,
Mhm.
right? And he was making single vineyard Bordeaux wine. So Bordeaux is all about blends. and he made a Bordeaux Cabernet Sauvignon, a Bordeaux Merlot. It was single vineyard, a single varietal
Right.
from Bordeaux, which is not supposed to be allowed, caused a huge splash, super high quality grapes. He didn't grow them, but he met with the people. He knew what quality was there and he bought it. And there are other ones that I've had where it just says, this wine comes from France, and they're just buying some grapes. It's usually probably already made for them. Like, so negociant, that's the thing. You can go from
There's a huge spectrum.
there's a huge spectrum on negociant. Negociant can also be people where literally they just slap a label on something made for themselves. Someone else made all the wine, every step. They just slap their label on. So it does have a huge spectrum in there. I tend to work with the people that it's essentially very long-term contracts, and they work with them multi-generationally and that kind of a thing. So, but the other ones at the same time, I'm not saying there's never a time to have a casual wine. So if you're going to have a casual Côte de Rhone that retails for $12 to $13, probably almost certainly a negociant, that's fine. Like, there's nothing, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just a very different thing.
Sure.
But so negociant, that is the term. And Iguigal is, they own their own lands and they are a negociant.
Oh, both.
So they're both.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the tie-in for tonight, right?
Would you like for me to move forward?
Please.
Okay.
All right. So where on earth is Carmen Sandiego drinking this wine? So here we are in southeastern France, right about the middle of the wine growing latitude to the northern hemisphere. We'll go in here. So we are in, look at this little area. This is where we are. So you can see here, this is the southern Rhone. This little area is the northern Rhone.
That is a tiny little sliver.
It is right along the Rhone River. That is what it's named for. All right, so let's take a look. So within the Rhone, this is the southern Rhone. Here's the northern Rhone. Crozes Hermitage is right here. Hermitage is right there. That little tiny thing, and that is the most prestigious section within there for it. We'll jump over here. And you can say here's Crozes Hermitage, which is one of the larger areas, and as far as plantings, the largest growing area in the northern Rhone. This little bit of purple here is Hermitage, which is why you end up going, but you see it's surrounded by. Yes. I mean, Crozes Hermitage is all around Hermitage. Hermitage is the name of one specific basic little mountain.
Okay.
Large hill, little mountain, depending on if you're from Florida or not. We're not used to the hills.
So we would say little mountain.
Right.
Yeah.
But the difference there is entry level price point $70.
Okay.
Entry level price point $35, right? Which is where we are here. So that's that. There's a significant difference. There is an intensity to an Hermitage, very old grape vines and everything. Much more close. It's much closer generally to the big porky, spicy, peppery thing that I was talking about that really needs some food with it.
Okay.
A little more fruit in the Crozes Hermitage. And there's our beautiful Rhone River. And here we look. You see, there's the Rhone, and as they run up on all those hills. So the Crozes Hermitage, Northern Rhone. Let me get some notes here. So southeastern France. Their most famous areas, Hermitage and Crozes Hermitage. Hermitage is surrounded by cooler growth area all on the banks of the Rhone, very hilly. Designation was established for Crozes Hermitage in 1937. Okay. 92% of what is grown there is red wine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're big time. Northern Rhone is, if you average it all out, is basically that number seems to prove out about 92% red wine. So it's basically, it's almost all Syrah. They do also grow Marsanne and Roussanne as blending.
I haven't even heard of those.
Well, they're blending grapes. You'll see them down in the southern Rhone as well. And Southern Rhone will often have like 9 different grapes in there,
Okay.
right? And you'll see Marsanne and Roussanne after Cinsault and all these things, and you're like, oh, I fell behind in all the French, you know.
Yeah.
The 8% that's grown is white. The white wine grown in the Northern Rhone is almost always Viognier.
Okay.
Viognier, excuse me, has a wonderful weight to it. I really like Viognier. Very floral, really beautiful wine with the weight of a Chardonnay, but they don't have all the buttery oaky treatment of a
Have you
Chardonnay.
done one of those?
We have not. We should do one.
Oh, yeah. We should try. That should be our next white whenever we do another white.
We could, but I have my eye on one.
Oh, okay.
Yep, sorry, but we'll do Viognier. We'll
Okay.
get there. Probably might be the new year. Who knows? Let's do. So Crozes and the Crozes Hermitage actually means the groove. So they use it for like the groove in a stave, you know, like for making a barrel. There's
Okay.
a groove in there, that
Mhm.
kind of. But it really refers to the valley. It's a
Sure.
groove, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what I would have thought before. Yeah.
yeah, you know, look, this is where France gets this groove on. But
So bad. We have to have at least one dad joke in every one of the
Well,
tastings.
yeah, obviously. So Hermitage, which is funny, I was looking around some things, but I had this. So Crozes Hermitage is right around Hermitage. Hermitage literally means hermitage.
I
So
mean,
it's where a hermit lives.
Mhm.
And that comes from that one particular, you know, little mini mountain,
okay.
right? A knight returned from the Crusades and became a hermit on top of that mountain. And that was the
And they named
Hermitage.
it for
Yeah,
him.
for him. That's
He's
where
like,
he
hey,
lived.
that hermit lives up
That
there.
hermit
and
lives up there.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to mess with that guy. He's seen a lot of bad stuff.
That's like how your hometown was named. Kind
Yeah,
of, not
kind
for
of.
a hermit, but
Right.
it's kind of that same thing. Yeah.
That's true. So, pebble covered slopes with clay and sandy soil. We've heard that a lot, right?
Mhm.
Does it have a lot of organic material? Nope.
Nope.
Do the vines struggle? Yep. So let's take a look. So here we have, there it is.
Wow. I mean, that's quite a slope there.
Yeah, it is, right? Pretty
Mhm.
steep.
Well,
You can see
yeah,
the sandy
too. And
clay.
I'm noticing it's not terraced. So I'm just imagining like walking through there.
It'd be a really good workout.
Yeah, well, it would.
Be like doing stadiums. My blood sugar is getting low. I have something for you. Have a grape. And here it is in the autumn. I know you like to see the changing color.
It's so funny because I mentioned one time, oh, that must be in the fall. And he's like, look, I have to throw in a fall slide every time. You like that, right?
Yes, you like that. I listened to that time.
That time.
That time.
See, it's like just proof every time. See, I listened. See, I listened. Like
Yes.
in the middle. Mm.
I gotta talk it up when I can. All right, so Iguigon, here we are. Not such a bad looking place. You can see the slopes rising up right behind it.
Yeah, and looking at that, you would guess that's France.
Right?
You know, yeah, it's just like typical.
Yeah, right along
Yeah,
the
French
Rhone, just
chateau.
gorgeous.
Mhm.
Family run. So, all right, yes, they own some of their own lands, a lot of negotiant business, but a family run winemaking enterprise. Started with Etienne Guigal, third generation since then. It's now being run by Marcel and Philippe.
Ah.
So there they are. So grandfather to son to the next. The family motto is no pain, no gain.
Okay, there you go.
You know, I'm like, okay,
That's a French saying. It's very French.
it's very French. I'm
Yes.
like, you sure you didn't adopt that in like the 80s? Was somebody listening to the song Physical?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I'm not gonna crap on them for that, but
I mean, it's a good motto.
it just means
just
their whole
doesn't
point
seem very
was
French.
right. Their whole point was to put in the work, you
Right.
know, for creating great wine. So, and they do. They have beautiful wine. So, fair enough. And I told you that they are a combination of negotiant. It's all through the Rhone. They are Rhone specialists, north and south. And There we go. I love that picture.
Oh, it's
There's some
gorgeous.
terraces
Yeah.
for you. My best, the Côte Rôtie, this is the very northern tip of northern Rhone.
Oh, okay.
So it gets even steeper
Sure.
as you go up there. All right. So let's jump back before we go to our points and stuff. Just little thoughts on, don't rate it yet. We'll go through the rating thing before we do, but any thoughts on what I've been talking about or the wine itself as it's continued to evolve since I haven't spoken to you guys in a few minutes?
I did notice the smokiness kind of build as you were talking about. I definitely agree with you on that. Yeah, it started out really subtle and got more and more prevalent as it warmed up a little bit.
Nice. I agree. It's warmed up. It's opened up. It's definitely more smoky. The tannins hang out. If anything, they plump up versus the beginning. So this would be great with like a lot of red meats.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm feeling the tannins just not just on my tongue, but like on the insides of my lips and stuff. Where I wasn't earlier.
It's very smooth. It's just one of those, you can hold the bottle up. Who needs a glass type wines?
Who needs a glass?
That's right.
He's just gonna get like a brown paper bag, put it around.
No bag, just be proud.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, for under the interstate, you would want a bag.
It's funny you mention that because I actually feel like anytime I pour myself another glass and then sip it, I'm just like, nope. And then I have to like swish it for a minute or two to really let it breathe for a second, because I think it is so grippy. And especially when we first opened it, like an hour and 15 minutes ago, it was really fruit forward and really grippy. And I was like, oh, ooh. And then as it just sits there and opens up in the glass, it really smooths out. It's really nice. It's a great food wine. Yeah, I think it's really solid. I think it's something that definitely like benefits from that ability to kind of like sit in the glass for a minute.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In fact, now that, I've taken a minute because we're talking and I'm revisiting for the first time, and I don't know how long I was talking, probably felt like forever to you guys. But a little, that black olive quality is coming out. Like I'm getting a nice little black olive richness. This is getting darker as we go, and wonderful, these wonderful other flavors.
I was just, that look on my face was that you used to hate black olives.
It is true. I discovered good olives as an adult.
Right.
Look, in the 70s in Yankeetown, Florida, all you got was canned olives.
I like canned olives too.
And
So
that was not my game. But in 2000, was it 50 now? Is that what it is?
I mean, you're almost
we're in the
50.
future. Yeah. Now that I can run down and get these great olives, I'm like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
My apologies,
now
olives.
he likes
You're
olives.
delicious. Yes. I still don't want them in my martini.
Well,
But anyway.
You guys put black olives on tacos?
Yes.
Really?
I mean,
We got a mixed review from the Snyders on that one, but
Team Olive, yes, duh.
yeah.
I think it's weird, but I'm getting off topic, but I think it's weird.
I love it with ground beef. I think it's a fantastic combo. But anyway, that's me.
Well, and I mean,
In fact, this with a ground beef taco.
I think you're
With
having
olives?
it. I think you're having it with Boston butt tonight.
Well, you
Is-
think so?
That's what
Yeah,
you're
that's
having it
probably
with.
what's gonna
That's already
happen.
made.
Rich and robust like avocados. All right. Yeah, like okay. Because it's got that, that is kind of a discussion about the body of this, this wine, with that
Yeah.
richness playing with the tannins, and
Sure.
it fills the palate, it fills the mouth. Yeah.
And then Linda is not a fan of olives.
Ah, well, you know what? Fair enough. Been there until recently.
Until recently, yeah.
So, all right, let's jump back on to the slides. We'll finish up.
Okay. And then Brian, love olives, just think they don't belong on tacos. Okay, so
Hmm.
you wanted to go to the ratings,
Mhm.
aren't we? Okay,
It'll be the next slide.
okay.
There we go. So we have this guy landing in the outstanding category year after year. 91, 92, occasional 93, sometimes a 90, but always in that range. So you guys have talked about this outstanding wine of superior character and style, a very good wine with special qualities. Nothing wrong with that. And I like to reiterate all the time, if you were to get a wine that you love that was an 86 pointer, there's no reason to cover that up. I mean, 86 is a good rating. No one shares them because they act like they should be ashamed. They shouldn't, but anyway, or even a good solid wine, 80 to 84. I mean, if you grab a casual Tuesday drinker, there's nothing wrong with that. You will never see that advertised because people act like they should be ashamed of it, which I think is a shame in and of itself.
So if they, because we know that they pay in order
Right.
to have the critics try it
Right.
and rate it. So the critics will give them their ratings privately?
Yes, they tell them first.
Okay,
Right.
and then they say, okay, release that, don't release that.
Exactly.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right,
Right. Yeah. The critics are like, all right, because they're not going to punish them automatically and say,
right.
oh, you paid me. I'm going to tell everyone that you got an 81.
Okay.
That's not going to happen.
I mean, since you are paying to have it rated, that's nice that if you weren't paying and they were just picking up, I mean, they should just tell you.
Right.
But because you're paying to have it rated, okay, well, I'm not going to advertise an 81.
And part of that too is where you get to where, like, all right, if they're being paid to rate things,
Mhm.
no wonder so many people hit 90 so well. Like,
Yeah.
I've talked about this and I think everyone's heard it, but maybe not. Because you hit 90 for a well-made, enjoyable wine most of the time. And honestly, they should probably be more like an 87.
Yeah,
a lot of
I think
times.
we've had some really good wines that were 88.
We had the 88 last time. The Cohors was an 88. And that was really,
Yeah.
everyone really liked it.
Mhm.
So people tend to hit a 90 a lot more than they should.
Okay,
But they don't hit a 92 a lot, right?
okay.
They don't hit a 94 almost ever.
It becomes exponentially harder
So much
every
harder,
point
right.
above.
So when you see a 95, 97 pointer,
Mhm.
that's truly exceptional. So
Yeah, and I mean, we've mentioned a long time ago, but yes, ratings are, you do have to give your wine to a critic and pay them to say, hey, will you rate this wine? But the other thing is, if you are making an inferior quality wine, you're not going to bother paying
No,
somebody
no.
to rate it.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
so that's the other thing. You're a winemaker, you're tasting it. Let's hope you have some expertise before
Right.
you give it to somebody to taste it. I mean, you are saying, I think this is excellent. Let's get it rated.
Right.
So, I mean, that's another thing. I know that you're saying like they hit 90 a lot, but the other thing is they're not getting bad quality wine.
That's a
to
good
rate.
point. No, it is a good point. I mean, I won't use name brands, but like some of these brands that you see everywhere, they know where their wine is. They know what it is. I mean,
right.
they're making it for consumption in mass, not,
Right.
they're making it for consumption about quantity, not quality.
Well, you can still make a
and
lot of money
price.
with Kmart wines, but
Right.
we didn't say any brand names, so
that's right. Yeah, but
but
you're
they
exactly
know
right.
what they're doing. They're not turning it in to be rated by Wine Spectator. at
Exactly.
that point. Yeah. So if you are turning it in to be rated, you're thinking.
And some wine is meant to just be fun.
Right.
Some wine is just fun. It doesn't
Right.
all have to be so serious. He said, leading in. Foreshadowing, one might say.
Okay, and we have 10 comments. So
Okay.
let's see. Hold on.
Oh, good. Ratings time. All right. Let's see
Right.
what people are thinking.
Okay, hold on. Let me scroll after the olive discussion. Okay, Kristen Robbins said, I think I agree. Not sure if that was with the olive discussion or not, but we'll
Right.
revisit that.
Yeah,
So
I think
Chris-
it was the olives on tacos.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So Chris is a 91, and then Linda and Paul 89 from both.
Okay.
Okay, at 93, John loves this one, and with even any kind of olive. That's fantastic.
That's great.
92, unanimous.
Nice.
Okay.
Loving it.
Great. The Hogshead's 92, 93.
Great.
Nep 86 with more flavor. It changes. It would have been a 90. I did like the smoke coming out though.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you're a white wine guy, so
Yeah,
I'll take it.
considering it, yeah, absolutely. That's pretty high for a
Right.
red from Brian. Okay, Robin, IDK assigning numbers is exhausting, but it's good.
Aren't you supposed to assign numbers to people's efforts as your profession? I'm just saying.
She's like, yes, and I do it all day. So
Yeah.
shut up, Jeff.
She's so gonna flip me the bird when this is done being
Yeah.
recorded.
Exactly.
This is the problem with becoming friends,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, Jeff's gonna call me out.
Okay,
Right.
Rachel says a 90, and then Consuelo says 92.
Nice.
Mhm.
All right. Excellent. Well, what does Elizabeth say?
I would have given it a 91, 92.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I give it an easy, like a 92. I love the qualities on this. I love the food pairing that I'm about to be doing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to
Um,
that as well.
It's got great character, but it's friendly enough. I mean, here we are sipping it without the food,
Mhm.
and you're not struggling thinking, okay, boy, give me some cheese, like
Well,
boy, oh boy, like give me
right,
some
no,
cheese.
I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
But I was just gonna say there aren't many reds that I would like insist
Right.
on having food with.
But it's really different from
Mhm.
your average cab or red blend, right?
Oh no, it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
definitely. I just really I like reds and I like tannins and I like this is not a challenging red. So I hate to say I like challenging red, but I do like challenging reds. So, and for me, it doesn't have to be paired. It's a nice compliment to be paired with something. But sometimes, for me, like certain Chardonnays, for me, it has to be paired with something. So he got a Facebook thing, so which he's reading.
By
So
the way, it was
he
John-
got distracted.
It was John's story saying how awesome the wine was.
Yeah, well,
Well, that's right. So I'm just going to say that counts, and I hope it was on the recording.
no, it's not going to be on the
No.
recording.
Okay.
It's-
Anyway, so John's story liked it.
he did.
That's right.
That's
So,
great.
All right. So let's go to thank our sources.
Okay.
Wine Folly, always. They are amazing. 750. Wikipedia, Iguigal, which makes sense, and the Hermitage wine.com. They have their own website for all of the wines in Crozes Hermitage. So next week.
Okay, wait. I'm going to stop the share a moment.
All right.
Before we move on to next week, are there any last comments or questions or anything about this wine or the area or anything that you would like? Because we get great questions after we turn off the recording, which I don't want to squash that. You can definitely ask after. But if you have a question now or comment, no.
I think the cursing brings out the question. So
I think you're right
turn it
about
off
that.
and the questions start flowing.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
have to have like an after hours YouTube channel too. So
That's right.
okay. Well, then I will share and
All
you
right.
can tell us what's coming
All right.
up.
So next week's wine is, I think it's just a lot of fun, right?
Okay.
It's going to be fun. It's something to drink. Our last time, it's a bit of a crossover wine from summer to fall, even though you would think going into it that it would just be a summer wine. All right.
Okay.
So
All
I'll
right.
tell you what. All right, let's go. The Camontabella Pinot Nero Frizzante Rosato. All right. This is an intense rosé that is lightly sparkling. It is not a full sparkling wine. It is lightly sparkling.
Lightly
It
sparkling.
prickles across the palate, but you do chill it.
Mhm.
100% Pinot Noir, a much more intense extraction on here. It's very deep red, even darker than what we're seeing in this picture here.
Huh.
A tiny little producer, all stainless production. I love these guys. We've actually met the son of the owner. He did the Camontabello tasting in 2019 that we had at the store.
Okay.
So great guy. So what's cool about this is because it's more intense, it's deeper. So yes, you can pair it with rosé pairings, but you can also, this could go with Thanksgiving dinner because it's enough for the turkey and the dressing and the cranberries, and it's all over the place, right?
I think
But-
you said that by about 3 things. You need to have a little list of get these for Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, this guy, Gamay, anyway,
Mhm.
yeah. garlic shrimp, because it can handle with the more intense fruit. It can handle the spice. Sweet and spicy Thai chicken
That sounds
would be
good.
really good,
Mhm.
right? So I just thought it would be fun. I really do like this wine. It's a little different, and we haven't done a rosé in forever.
Sure.
So I brought this guy in. It's a different version of it's rosé with a twist. And actually, we've got a hand up.
Yes.
So.
Wait, you're muted.
Okay,
There we
There we
go.
go.
sorry. Will it work with sushi? And if so, what
Yes,
sushi will it work with?
it'll definitely work with sushi and all of them. Yeah,
All of
you'll be
them.
fine.
Okay.
It won't step on the delicate ones, and it'll really pair well with the spicy ones. Yeah. It's a good question. I like
Yeah.
that pairing. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm excited. Try something.
it's really
It
fun.
looks
It is
so
very
different.
delicious.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have a really good time with it, which is kind of fun.
Okay. So, and Pinot Nero,
Pinot
That's-
Nero. Oh,
that's a different grape?
nope.
Like, no. Okay.
It is just what some Italians call Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't all call it Pinot Nero, but many do.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is northwestern Italy.
Okay.
And but most of the time, I think most of the time that I've seen it, it's Pinot Nero
Pinot
in
Nero.
Italy. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So I hope you guys will join us. I hope you'll just have fun with it. I think it is a very fun wine. So it's good because, I know we delve down and we get in there and we're like, oh, here's the Northern Rhone and what the history. And sometimes wine is fun, and it should be fun. I hope it's always fun.
I was gonna say.
They're like, it's
you
fun.
always have it fun, right? Like you always think it's fun, don't you?
I think it's fun. I
Mhm.
hope other people do, and they don't like, well, it was fun until Jeff talked too much.
That's what I think every. Okay.
All right.
So any last comments before we stop the recording?
That's right. All right. We're going to have a toast.
Okay. Thank you all
All
for
right.
coming.
Thank you for coming. Here's to the Northern Rhone and their beautiful expression of Syrah. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next week.